Hello, everyone. This is Jerry Griffin, Superintendent of Schools for Malone Central. I wanted to take a few minutes today to get some information out for our staff, our students, and our community at large, our parents, and just wanted to review some information that led us to the decision to return to in-person instruction, give you a little bit of history on the decision-making process to go remote in the first place, and then let you know some things that we're thinking about as we move ahead into the future. So back on November 9th and 10th, when the decision was made to go to remote instruction, as was stated in a press release and in a couple of interviews I did for local media, it was a combined decision of superintendents in Franklin County after a meeting with the Department of Health. And the goal was to get a better handle on contact tracing, reduce community spread at that time, and also to make sure that our schools were prepared for the testing requirements if we are ever designated a yellow zone. And I'll go into that in a little bit. So it was not a mandate by the Department of Health at that time. It was a decision that superintendents made on their own, based on a request, and after several conversations among our groups within the county. We did not switch to remote instruction back at the beginning of November because of the high infection rate in our schools, because our infection rate was almost zero at that time. I believe we only had one case, positive case in our district at that time. We did have a number of people in quarantine because they had been in contact with a positive, and most of those contacts came from outside of school. So if you'll remember, we had to put our middle school on remote instruction for a while, just because we had some staffing and supervision of students issues. So the reason for reopening, when we originally met as a group of superintendents, we talked about different dates that we would consider coming back to in-person instruction. And one of the thoughts was, let's wait a little bit of time after Thanksgiving break. Number one, to make sure that our schools were ready for a yellow zone designation if that were to hit us. And number two, to see what the infection rate was in our region and what impact it was having on our local schools. So we did work very hard with our school nurses, and I give our school nurses a lot of credit for making sure that we're ready to be designated a yellow zone if that happens. I'm not even sure that's going to happen. So we're prepared for the testing requirement in our schools if we are required to do so. And I believe that we are ready to welcome our students back for in-person instruction. This week we have had some certain special education classrooms back in person. They've been back in person successfully this week. We will welcome our Thursday and Friday group back this week, and our Monday, Tuesday group next week. So I've talked a little bit about yellow zones and what does that mean. If a region is designated a yellow zone, if we reach certain predetermined benchmarks. So I just want to go over a few of those benchmarks with you. Our county is considered by the governor's office to be a tier 3 geographic area, which means we're located within a county of 50,000 or more people. There's about a dozen counties in this tier 3, and you need a couple of things in order to be designated a yellow zone. One is you need to have a 7-day rolling average positivity rate above 3.5% for 10 days. I know that's a little confusing. So it's a 7-day rolling average of 3.5% for 10 days. And it's not an or, and the geographic area has to have 15 or more new daily cases per 100,000 residents on a 7-day average. So we don't have 100,000 residents, so if you calculated that on a 50,000 residents, it would be 7.5 or more new daily cases on a 7-day average. This is not something that we designate ourselves as a yellow zone. This is something that comes from New York State, and we haven't been giving any indication as of this morning that we are in a yellow zone or nearing a yellow zone, but we are ready in case we get there. So what happens if our school gets in a yellow zone? Schools in a yellow zone must test at least 20% of in-person students, faculty, and staff over a 2-week period immediately following the announcement of that yellow zone designation. So if there are, say there's 100 people, students and staff at one of our elementary schools for in-person instruction, that 20% of 100 is 20 people. So we would have to test 20 people over the course of a 2-week period. And if the results of our testing in our schools, if our positivity rate among that 20% is less than the entire region, then we're no longer required to continue testing. And so we do have staff who are trained to administer these tests, and the testing consent forms will actually be sent home this week on Thursday and Monday. We are asking parents to complete those forms and send them back in. It doesn't mean that your child's going to be tested immediately, or there's actually no guarantee that your child will ever be tested. It's just we'll have these documents on hand in case we're hit with a yellow zone designation. Then we could immediately jump into our testing plan and we'd have permission to do so. We're going to do the same thing with our faculty and our staff, and we would obviously stay in constant communication with our parents if we were to ever hit that yellow zone designation. So we have a questionnaire that's going to start going out daily on Parent Square, and we are asking parents to look at that questionnaire, and it's just a screening questionnaire. Ask some questions about temperatures of the children at home. It asks questions if they've been in contact with a positive case, if they've been asked to quarantine. So you should be getting those notifications in Parent Square shortly. If you haven't signed up for your Parent Square account, I beg you to please do that. Go to our website, maloneschools.org, and follow the instructions at the top of the page to activate your account if you haven't done so. I want to talk a little bit about communication. I do my best to communicate as quickly as possible with everyone in our community. And sometimes people get upset because they feel like a certain group found out before they did. And we live in a small community, and that's bound to happen. I don't like it sometimes, but it is a fact. I will let you know that within 24 hours of making a decision to go remote, and within 24 hours of making a decision to return to in-person instruction, I had communication with the fellow superintendents, my colleagues in our region. We talked about all staying on the same page with our messaging and our timeline, and it was good just to have a group of people to talk some of those things through with. I then communicated the information out to our Board of Education, our administrative team, our instructional and support staff, and our parents and students. And some of the people in those preceding categories, they're actually in multiple categories. Some of our administrators have spouses who are teachers. Many of our teachers and board members are also parents. So it's a mixed group of people in our community. I do the best that I can to communicate with everyone in an effective manner. However, I know I'm not always perfect, and I know sometimes you want information faster than you get it. I can assure you that I'm not holding on to any information any longer than I absolutely need to. So I appreciate your understanding and your patience with me and with everyone in our district as we continue to deal with this crisis. I am asking our co-chairs of our reopening committee to reconvene our reopening committee and bring them back together to look at developing local metrics that we could use to make decisions moving forward, so parents and students would have a better understanding at what are the target benchmarks that we would need to reach in order for us to be put in a position to make a decision to go back to remote instruction. I don't have all the answers to that right now. We're going to look at many different metrics that we could use that involves data from our school district and data from our overall community. I clearly understand that the final decision comes from me, and I own that. And however, I would like to get input from as many stakeholders as possible. So be on the lookout for that information in the coming weeks. And finally, we're excited to welcome our students back for in-person instruction. I know that some of you might be nervous, but I don't think you have anything to be nervous about. In the schools, our schools are some of the safest places to be. I don't know if any place is 100% safe in our communities right now, but I do think our schools are a very safe place for your children to be. We feel very safe being around your children during the day, and I think if we all remember to practice physical distancing, wear our masks, and wash our hands often, and sanitize our classrooms and the different common areas in our school, I do believe that we're going to be okay. If we get hit with some quarantine issues, where we need to close a specific school for in-person instruction, or maybe just a grade level, or maybe just a team at the middle school, if we run into that situation again, we'll communicate that out to parents, and we'll do our very best to keep the other schools and grade levels running in person while we deal with any quarantine issues over the coming weeks. Again, thank you for your understanding, and I hope you all have a safe and happy holiday season as we close out this strange year of 2020. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and Happy New Year. Thanks for all your support.